Hey guys, some long name here. Welcome back to the Surone channel. Okay, I can't keep doing this. When I first started playing Maimai, I found the game a bit strange. I will go online and watch a bunch of top level gameplay as you do, and I find out that wait, Pandora Paradox is the hardest chart, right? But not only has it been AP'd already, but it's been AP'd by so many people. This is meant to be the hardest chart in the game, right? And it's not only Pandora Paradox. Every single chart in the game has been AP'd, not even across the whole community. By a single person has AP'd every chart. And I was like, hold up, what is there left to do in the game? Isn't this it? Didn't we beat Maimai as a collective? For context, I come from games like Osu and DDR, Osu Mania, or all of those games. The hardest songs in Osu, for example, no one would even come close to FCing it, much less getting 100% on it. Same with DDR. Not every 19 has been PFC'd. And I feel like the natural question that arises from this is, why doesn't Maimai have more difficult charts? I think this question, once again, is pretty complicated. On first glance, it seems like such a simple problem with a simple solution. You know, all the top players have AP plus all the hard charts. Why don't we make harder charts? But it's not so simple. Before I dive a little deeper, I've asked my Discord server what they thought about this before we started, and we'll be going through their answers after mine. So if you're interested in joining, the link is in the description and comments. And also, before I keep going, this was not planned at all, but during the making of this video, the new 15 Xaleid scopiX got released in the grand finale of the 7SRF thing, and it neatly fits into what I'm talking about now. So not only will I explore whether Maimai should have more difficult charts, I'll also give my opinion on Xaleid scopiX and whether it's a good addition or not. So I think there's a very important distinction to be made between games like Maimai and games like Osu. And that distinction is that one is run by the community and another is run by a company. This distinction is important because in a game like Osu, for example, you can always have a harder chart. Since charts or maps in Osu, your map doesn't have to be ranked to be playable, right? Anybody can make a map, and every map can always be harder. For example, you know, you have some 12-star like death to jump 200 BPM. I don't know, I haven't played Osu in a while. Let's say like something M-Reg can't even get an 80% on, right? Some 15-star 3000 BPM jumps or something. That can always be harder, right? You can make the jumps more spaced apart. You can make the BPM faster. You can make the circle size smaller. It can always be harder, and you can always just make the map. But in a game like Maimai, you can't just put anything in the game. Every song in the game is official. It's ranked. It has been charted and approved by Sega, and it has to go through whatever arduous process that they need to go through in order for a map to be in the game. Oh, now I'm saying map for map. In order for a chart to be in the game. And in a company-run game, difficulty has to be standardized. Difficulty has to be fair. It has to be fair to the player. You can't just spam notes and call it a chart, obviously. So a game like Maimai, like Tunidum, or even like DDR, they have to feel fair to the players. But then we run into a big issue, which is what I outlined earlier. What is there left to do other than waiting for the next update? Although it feels like this issue is very pronounced in Maimai specifically. It feels like the hardest charts in the game have all been conquered by everyone. In psychology, alright, here we go. In psychology, the issue that Maimai faces is something called a ceiling effect. And it's an issue of measurement. So in rhythm games, what a chart ultimately does is it measures the person's skill. When someone plays a chart, their skill is inherently being measured by their score and by their rating. But when things are too easy, people's skills are not being accurately measured. For example, if you have, let's say, a math test that is way too easy, and let's say the average for that test is like a 98% with like, I don't know, half the people getting 100% in the test. That test is a bad test because those people that get 100 are not being differentiated between each other, and because of that, their math skill is not being measured properly. They're hitting the ceiling of the measurement, which is 100. So you need a harder test in order to measure those people who are hitting the ceiling of 100, because person A who hit 100 and person B who has 100, if they do a harder test, person A might score an 80 while person B might score a 90, and because the test is harder, their skill is more accurately measured, where you can say person B is better at math than person A. but you can't say that for that easy test. And it's the same thing with Maimai. We got hundreds of players who are max rated, and within like the top 10, they've all AP and mostly AP plus the hard charts. So it's very hard to differentiate skill between them. Having said that, let's tackle the question again of whether Maimai should have more difficult charts. I'm going to go through the pros first and then the cons. First, the pros. Obviously, it overcomes that ceiling effect. People at the very top of Maimai, they can be differentiated more in terms of skill. There's also just more things to do for them because at that point, they're just waiting for new updates. But on the flip side, let's go through the cons now. If you think about it, 99.9% of Maimai players are not top players. They don't have AP on every chart. What the game has to offer is already plenty. And the way Maimai works is that they usually gatekeep hard charts, right? With like 1 life challenges with Kaleidoscope. Well, not anymore in Japan, but for us international people, we still need to do Kaleidoscope. There's always some sort of like challenge, and that challenge is generally pretty difficult even for top players. But for us newbies, it will be even more impossible if those charts are even harder than they are now. So we can't just think about that top 0.1%. There's also just the rest of us where it actually doesn't apply to us that much. Although there is an argument to be made that as a viewer and as a spectator of the top level, it would be more exciting. But just for us as a player, it wouldn't even matter. It would just be another hard chart that we can't do. A second con to having more hard charts, it becomes much harder to get plates, get banners, and get folders. Because these awards given by Maimai, they reward you for being a completionist, for getting AP on everything, FDX on everything, all those stuff. And if you have more hard charts and that not even the best players can get an AP on, it's going to be a big issue for that, especially if you're going for all chart APs or something like insane like that. Alright, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Xaleid scopiX. Alright, so first off, I think the finale was really cool. It was well designed. It was like so hype, you know, the cab crash and like the ARG stuff, and that was so cool. But we're here to talk about the actual chart, Remaster 15 Xaleid scopiX. Sega actually added a chart in the game that the top players can't AP. I mean, other than Ramiro, of course, but he's a different level. So what is my opinion on it? I think it's a good direction. Because only the very tippy top, like the top 1, top 2 people can AP, APing it actually means something. Now we've brought the ceiling a bit higher so that we can differentiate, okay, Ramiro can AP it, but like everyone else can't. And I feel like a lot of the people who complain about Xaleid scopiX are not used to having really hard charts in Maimai. They're used to having everyone be able to AP. They're used to, like, even like Yoshi, he was complaining in Twitter, but there's just no way I can AP. Like, that's the point. At this point in my mind, it's like the expectation that you can AP everything. And there's just one chart, I just need AP, but I can't. That's where it matters, right? That's where you will be differentiated from other people. Having said that, there's a difference between just having a really difficult chart and having a good chart that is difficult. And that's a really important distinction that we have to make. Alright, I'm gonna pull up Xaleid scopiX the chart and discuss this further. Yo guys, I'm back in my room. No more green screen. So I was thinking we should take a look at Xaleid scopiX Remastered together. And I'm just gonna give my opinion as I watch it. Before I start though, I do think Xaleid scopiX, well, apparently it's pronounced Kaleidoscopics or something, but it's spelled with an X apparently because they want to be edgy. The song has really grown on me. To be honest, when I first heard it, I was like, it's alright. Like, especially for a song by Psy, I expected it to go so hard to be like, oh my gosh. But when I first heard it, I was like, yeah, it's alright. But then the more I heard it, the more I realized this is like the perfect song that encapsulates the finale of 7S Rec. It's so dramatic, it's so emotional, and I think it plays into that ARG aspect really well too. Alright, let's take a look at the chart. Wait, this is an autoplay. Okay, let me find another one. Alright, here we go. Match start of you. Alright, starts off like every other 15, I guess. Or every other chart that wants to be hard. Actually, let me just say that I do like how it's a little bit conservative with its difficulty, because it's very easy to just overchart and spam notes, but you know, this is the calm part of the song, is the beginning, and they're going very easy. Like, this is basically just a 12. I do like how they're still trying to chart to the music, right? They're not just overcharting everything just to make it hard. I like the speed up. This slider was so confusing when I first saw it, but it's actually not that bad. See, like, look at this. It's a proper build-up. Alright, I forgot to mention that this is the first long song in Maimai. Maimai charts used to have a cap of like 2.5 minutes or something. But this is like a 4.5 minute long chart. And this is the first time it happened in Maimai. Not only is this like insanely hard, but it's also testing the player's stamina and consistency. And I think that's definitely a skill that is underrated right now in Maimai because there are no long songs. So I think it's a good thing that they have long songs. The fact that it takes 2 tracks, yeah, I get it. They gotta make their money somehow. Anyway, let's look back at what just happened in the chart. Like, so far, it flows pretty well. I have no real complaints. Yeah, that's fine. That's just a normal pattern. So far, pretty chill. That's fun. That fits the music well. That's like our first unique pattern, I would say. Like, I've never seen this in any other chart. I think it's cool. This is an interesting slider shape, I guess. So far, it's pretty solid. I don't really have any complaints. Yeah, that's fun. I would say those patterns are pretty fun, honestly, like pretty easy considering what's to come next. I feel like the difficulty is a little bit too easy for the first half, because you kind of want a consistently difficult chart. Like, generally you don't want the difficulty all at the end, and it just makes for like a not that fun of a chart. And so far, like, I'm not saying this is like so easy, but this so far is just like a 14. Nothing much has really happened. It would have been great if the difficulty was consistent, but I know that the whole gimmick of this chart is that the second half of it is like a surprise, right? And no one expected the second half. So after they completed the first half, they're like, oh my gosh, that's it, I'm done. And then boom, the second half comes in, the deluxe score 100 life. Oh my gosh. So that moment is pretty insane, but I don't know if it was worth sacrificing this difficulty spike at the end for that gimmick, but I get it. Like, it was for the hype moment. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we get our first like level 15 pattern, I guess. Like, let's take a look at it again. So we got like really fast doubles or whatever you call it, like the yellow notes. That's fine. And then we got like Tiamat kind of. And then around, and then you got these really fast expanding sliders. I don't know what you call those. Honestly, I think this is a really cool pattern because you rarely have those expanding sliders like that quickly. I don't know. That's so cool to me. And then this one, you know, like this is just Pandora. And then this is not too bad, I would say. But yeah, I think this is really cool. This is like pretty fair so far, I would say, in terms of difficulty. Obviously, this is where the second part comes in, and yeah. I feel like it's just a completely different chart. Anyway, let's keep playing. So, okay. Yeah, so here we got our first introduction of the whole touch notes being anywhere other than the middle. Honestly, that's just like a logical extension of the mechanic. I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, I don't even know why this wasn't a thing in the first place. Like, why was it only in the middle? But I'm glad it's added now. Yeah, this is where like shit gets real, right? Ooh, that trill. Okay. I think it's pretty fun. There's a lot of like slides and like, yeah, you got the sage trill, and you know, that's pretty stamina intensive considering you just played 3 minutes of a chart. And then you got this. Yeah. And then this slider. Oh, I like this pattern. This pattern is fun. That's cool. I like this. I do think it's a bit splashy though. very easy to splash those cold notes, but yeah. That pattern just came out of nowhere. Oh, I think that is like the biggest point of like, okay, this pattern here. Okay, what the hell is this, bro? Okay, you slide here and you slide back, sure, but it's like so fast. And then double tap. And then these jacks, these break jacks, oh. Like the stamina you need for that after like 4 minutes of playing, and then you gotta go like it's very stamina intensive. These sliders are I don't know how I feel about those. Okay. Okay, we need to talk about that pattern. I do not like this pattern. I'm sorry. But hitting these feel very RNG. This is like the whatever happens in Tsunagite. I'm looking at the top players who play this, like, is it really skill to, I don't know. This is one of those 15 level patterns where it's like technically you can do it legit, but being able to do it legit, it's practically impossible. It's just like theoretically possible. So what I mean is, so when you hit these patterns, you hit 2 notes with 1 palm, and because they're so fast, and you take advantage of like the perfect window leniency, and you just hit 2 notes at the same time, 2 notes, do. Even though like technically you're supposed to slide from like, for example, A6 to A5 really fast, it's like but like, whose hands are moving that fast? So you know, everyone obviously brackets it, and that's what makes it like a level 15 pattern, I guess. You have to cheese it, but I just feel like the cheese where you bracket it, it's so inconsistent and it's so difficult to AP. I feel like the difficulty could come from other places than this, because in my opinion this is very RNG. Like, yeah, it's like so janky. Okay, this one's fine. I like this pattern. That, oh. Okay. And then this one. Okay, the end kill. These, once again, is another like level 15 pattern. It's technically possible to trill that quickly, like technically, but no one's doing that after 4 minutes of playing, right? So they do that tech where they hit 2 notes at once, where they hit like the button and the screen at the same time. I feel like they should take advantage of the length of the chart a bit more. I don't like it when charts are like easy, insanely hard pattern, easy, insanely hard pattern, and at the end like insanely hard pattern. I don't know. It just becomes like, do you hit this pattern or do you not? All the people trying to AP right now in Japan, it's just, do you hit the end or do you not? I feel like there should be a consistent difficulty. Maybe something like a 14 plus level, but like consistently. And I get like, you know, giving breaks and stuff, that's good. I think that's good. I just feel like the difficulty is so concentrated on this, this freaking whatever is going on. So it's like, okay. I mean, me doing it is not gonna help you understand, but you know what I mean. You can watch my short about it if you want. And after that pattern, you got like insanely fast trills that you have to cheese, unless you're Keita or something. Anyway, that's it from me. So my final thoughts on Xaleid scopiX, or however you say it. The song bangs. The chart is like fun at times, but I think what it stands for is food for thought. It is the hardest chart in the game by far. Only 1 person so far has AP'd it. Only like a handful of people can even come close. Yes, that solves the ceiling effect. However, I think the way that they go about it could be a bit better. I think it just relies really heavily on these insane difficulty spikes rather than having a consistent difficulty throughout. And I just feel like it's not taking advantage of the long song mechanic as much as it should. I think the existence of the chart has a huge flow-on effect to the rest of the game. It sets a precedent for what is the hardest. It shows what can be rankable in Maimai. I think it signals the push away from perfection all the time in Maimai and more towards pushing the skill cap. In my opinion, that's a good thing, but It's gonna take a lot of getting used to for people who are used to like getting everything AP, everything perfect. Alright, it's time to go through the Discord submissions. So when I asked my Discord, Xaleid scopiX hasn't been released yet. And then during the Q&A, Xaleid scopiX got released. So I decided to have 2 questions. It's 1, do you think Maimai should have more difficult charts? And 2, what do you think of Xaleid scopiX? Is it a good chart? Is it good for the game or not? So there will be 2 parts to the Q&A. It's also kind of funny to see what people were saying before Xaleid scopiX got released and what actually happened. MB Masher says, I think Maimai needs 15s that just don't rely on speed. I completely agree. I think more technique and more stamina should be involved. And you know, I don't know if Xaleid scopiX does that. Eternity says 15, yes, I'm talking about 15.1 to 2 is max. Above that, I think it's way too stupid because the current 15.0 already have such BS hard parts. The reason a chart is given with 15 is because it has a part which is essentially the human limit in chart form. And going beyond it, that I don't think is feasible. Here's the thing, Maimai is a relatively young game. If you look at games like DDR, even if you go outside rhythm games, you look at games like Super Smash Bros. Melee, the skill cap is constantly being pushed and pushed, and it is my opinion that we're nowhere close to the human limit in Maimai, like not even close. What are we doing? We're APing everything. Look at Osu. Some of the best scores are not even FCs, much less getting 100%. I'm mesmerizing it. Teto says, I think Maimai shouldn't focus on increasing the skill ceiling even further, and instead focus on making more fun and or interesting charts. Maybe ones with gimmicks or ones with patterns that are easy yet challenging to do. Yeah, I think that's true. I think the easy charts in Maimai get pretty neglected a lot of, you know, I'm talking about 13s and 12 pluses. When was the last time you played a 12 plus and was like, damn, that's a good chart? Like, where are the good 12 pluses? Like, that's a good point. However, I think pushing the skill cap is still important in the game. Like, it's both sides, you know. Echo says, I genuinely do not think this game needs levels harder than the level 15s we already have. I'm currently practicing on level 14 plus, and I feel like the skill needed for some of these charts are way higher than people think. I think I get it, like 99% of people are never even gonna reach the level of thinking, hey, I already AP'd everything in the game, what else should I do? That's true, but there are people who do. Even though it's a small percentage of people, it's important for us as like a spectator of those top players to see them do really hard things and show what they're capable of and pushing the skill ceiling. Speaking of, Sprout says, I think my skill ceiling is really low because there's only like 50 hard charts in the entire game, so you end up mind blocking all of them. I don't think too many more 15s is the way to go, cause I can't lie, the endings of both Tsunagite and Pandora are completely mashing speed slot. They need to make more creative charts, like, I don't know, make Turing type shit and a delayed slider 15 or some gimmick shit like soft land or something. Okay, this is a really long sentence. The best way to make 15s, I reckon, is instead of doing some BS ending like every other chart in the game, is to make a chart with consistent difficulty throughout instead of 90 breaks in 2 seconds and praying you have to hit them. I think the best way to raise Maimai difficulty ceiling isn't just with more 15s, but like raising the triple S and triple S plus bar and reworking levels as well to force people to be more accurate, because you can get so many mistakes for triple S plus, it's crazy. So yeah, Sprout agrees that we shouldn't have speed slop, we shouldn't have these insane difficulty spikes like I mentioned in Xaleid scopiX. It kind of seems like Sega's not really doing that right now. They're not really focusing on other ways to make it difficult. They're just making like insanely fast end kills. I think the conversation of raising the bar of triple S and triple S plus is an interesting one to have. For example, making 100.8 give rating or something like that. I think there is a little bit of an overemphasis on accuracy in Maimai, just a little bit. I don't know if having like a 0.8 like triple S plus plus border will really solve that. When I say that, I mean like I find it crazy that getting a double S on Solips is like the same as a triple S plus on a 13 one. It's clearly like not even in the same difficulty sphere, and yet the rating system doesn't see that. I just think accuracy is just a bit overweighted in Maimai. Animus says, Maimai needs to have gimmicks like pause, slider velocity, and backwards notes. Maimai is already a stamina game and tiring and hard, so make it funner. Yeah, that could be cool. Freaky My DX Melody version says 14.9s and 15s are already very physically demanding. Both 15s rely on absolute BS at the end to justify their difficulty. So when they release a 15, hopefully it's a stamina challenge with all-round difficulty rather than 450 BPM trill jump speed slop ending. Well, this person predicted wrong because that's exactly what we got. I will say though that physically demanding, like go play a DDR 18, pass it, and then come back to me and then tell me if Maimai is physically demanding, because compared to like that game, it's not at all. Freaky My DX time zone version says Maimai needs 15s that have the difficulty come from very intense slider reading. Stasis chart by TRG is a good example. Yeah, it seems like everyone is kind of divisive on whether we need harder charts or not, but everyone's kind of united in the fact that Maimai needs to expand what it means to have hard charts. Because it seems like Sega is just, you want hard? Okay, here's 1 bajillion BPM trills. There you go. There's so many ways to be hard, and I think Maimai needs to explore that a bit more, you know? Slider reading, technique, stamina, all of that. He says, a game stales down the moment chart innovation stops. Nobody thought delayed sliders would become a thing, nor did anyone think 30-second note spins / trills would be a thing when the first game got released. Yeah, that's true. A game doesn't have to be extremely hard to be interesting. That's a good point, but I still think the ceiling effects still cause a problem in Maimai, and I would like to see that fixed. Freaky My DX Freaky My version says, personally, the current bosses already serve as a good final barrier to us regular players, but perhaps those who have arrived on the top needed some new challenges. So sure, perhaps we could pull out Pump It Up's Paradox, 1949 and 1948. Although not straight up impossible, those are still very difficult challenges for the top players, even just to pass it. Yeah, games like Pump It Up, there's a focus on passing rather than getting an extremely good score. But Maimai is like the complete opposite of that. The focus of the game is AP plus, or like extremely high accuracy. Yeah, it could be cool to have a chart so hard that even the top players after grinding can't S it. That would be cool, but I don't know, it would change the system of the game completely. The Potato Couch says, current 15 seem to be 15 merely on the basis that the endings cannot be AP'd without cheesing. While this does add another layer of difficulty, I don't really like this approach. Something like Eagle Seeker Utage feels much more ideal as a proper non-BS 15 candidate, as either Pandora or Tsunagi Tetui. I do find that the middle sections of both 15s employ charting styles rarely seen in other charts or interesting mechanics, which I do feel like are somewhat underused. Let me just go on the record and say, I think Pandora is a really cool chart. Yes, it has the end kill at the end and whatever speed slope, but the patterns in the chart in general are just really cool, really interesting to watch. After that, we don't really see those patterns anymore. Like, we need more of that. We need unique patterns that they don't have to be really hard, but they just have to be interesting. 31v12 says, something I found interesting is that when watching KOP, all the players are reaching for perfection, which is very different from other rhythm game tournaments like OWC, where at the later stages, players are aiming for survival, for example. It is very common for a map/chart have an average accuracy around 93 to 97% in the tournament, let alone 100%. So this creates a problem where Maimai tournaments become an RNG event. Don't get me wrong, Yoshiki is still very incredible. He's absolutely a consistency titan, which is exactly how he wins so many KOPs. But that also means that the current situation does not test the skill ceiling of players. Back to OSU tournaments, it is extremely common for a player to dominate another player in a specific map/chart. But in Maimai, almost every time the players are differentiated by a couple grades, which is just a probability thing at this level. While you can absolutely control the variation and AP, I don't know how many times in a row like Yoshiki doesn't showcase the limitation of players. To an extent, every top player is the same. They all have the ability to AP everything, and they lost to Yoshiki mainly due to nerves and bad luck. That is a really good point. I honestly agree with that. KOP is just nerve control. But then in OSU tournaments, for example, it's like one guy could be insane at like AR7 reading or whatever it is they do. Someone could be really good at like hidden, but then horrible at double time. So they use that to their advantage. And there's like these skill sets that you can like train and master. But in Maimai, you don't really see that. There's no like slider expert and there's no tap expert. Like they kind of is at the lower levels, but then at the highest level, everyone can do everything. It doesn't feel like there's much personality in the gameplay as much as like Osu, for example. Alright, now we're getting to the answers that happened after Xaleid scopiX got released. So Echo says now, after seeing the new level 15, we definitely do not need harder charts. Like, fuck that shit. Worst VN player says we don't need any more 15s. Xaleid scopiX is hell. Everyone hates Xaleid scopiX. Cobby says the bar does not need to be raised. Yuya says it was finally time for a chart that's longer than 3 minutes. I feel like it's a very good addition to the game. But then Xavier says right after, it's a fucking stupid addition, like tell me how this is even possible to AP. Why the fuck didn't they just make this 2 separate charts? Destroyed. I disagree with Xavier and agree with Yuya. Long songs in the game are good. I don't know why it wasn't in the game sooner. I love long songs. Give me like a 30-minute song if you can. Okay, here we go. TRG himself, the GOAT, answered. Xaleid scopiX made me want to quit Maimai. My trip to Japan with my parents happened to align with the release of the 7th phase of Kaleidoscope. Unexpectedly, they did not end the update's contents off at Black Box in the Prism Tower course, but rather continued it all the way until the end. In my opinion, it was way too rushed. It was hell for the rankers. Over 10 hours standing up playing each day, back-to-back 1 life challenges. The mental strain gone into clearing each song. No time to eat. 3 hours sleep each day, pressure from the other rankers, only for the 000 timer at the end to be false. I was with Yoshiki at the time, who was visibly exhausted. I remember him saying it was the most tired he's ever felt in his life. I don't know what Sega was thinking when they made this event, but if it happens again, maybe I should spend my time doing something else rather than playing this game. Oh my gosh. Harsh words from TRG. But yeah, I mean, this is a little bit adjacent to the main question, but maybe the whole finale of 7S Ref, they put everything all at once. And like, maybe they shouldn't have done that. At the same time, no one's really forcing people to play. They just kind of released everything at once. But like, maybe they should have thought of that. I'm not sure. No way, Saltify said my honest reaction, and he just put Ramiria rude finger. Yeah, all the top players are seething, bro, because they're finally like, damn, I can't AP this. Gus says, Sega, you can't stick with 50.0 max, please, you're trolling at this point. No human should put Pandora, Tsuna, and Xaleid at the same rating as Bully. Like, it's just the way that this rating system works. It caps out at 15.0 right now. eFan says, anyway, the Xaleid scopiX opens up a lot of potential, especially long song version songs can be added to the game, yes, finally. Other than that, the level 15 part is a bit understandable, but I guess Sega didn't learn from the past for killing Pandora Paradox Master Hype but becoming the first 13+ in the game. It kinda kills the finale though after Pandora Standard, Believe the Rainbow Deluxe, and Prism Rhythm Standard Hype with its unique charting. And other note, we kinda need super technical 15s that are not speed based. That's what I'm saying, bruh. Okay, my friend Rui says, hi, I wrote a 9-page paper on this topic because it probably wouldn't fit in a single message. Alright, I'm not gonna read everything, but you can check it out yourself. That's pretty funny that he wrote so much for this. Alright, that's everything. There were a lot of submissions and this video is already long enough, so I'm sorry if I didn't get to your submission. I think all in all, the 7S Ref finale was really cool as an event. But yeah, Xaleid scopiX, Alright, time to shout out the server boosters. Thank you to Freaky My DX something something, MB Masher, Freaky My DX International version, Tenshi Freaky My Unk Back Pain version, Freaky My DX Oi version, Dontor, Freaky My DX Quantum version, Freaky My DX Insanity version, Nole, Suskus, Scoogy, Freaky My DX Byte version, Unk T with Unk status tick emoji, and also myself, I guess, for boosting the Somlong server. Let's go. Alright, see you guys.